Hey everybody, it's Trevor here with the channel where every day is range day, and today we're going to be doing a quick video about cleaning handguns. But first, let's roll that intro. Alright guys, in today's video we're just going to be looking at some general handgun maintenance and cleaning, and we're going to be just cleaning my Gen 5 Glock 34 here that I recently picked up to stimulate the economy. Now first and foremost, you always want to make sure that your weapons are cleared and unloaded while you're doing this, because you do have to pull the trigger oftentimes to get the slide off. So we are cleared and safe in this instance, so we're good to go. Now again, I just picked up this Glock and I probably only shot about 300 rounds through it, but we have a range day coming up and I wanted to get it cleaned up just for that. But normally you don't need to clean your handgun after every time you fire it. Now it's probably a good idea to clean it every 1,000 rounds or so, somewhere around that mark. But if you just go to the range and shoot, 100, 200, 300 rounds, you probably don't need to do that. Especially if you have the more modern handguns these days. They're reliable enough that a little bit of carbon buildup and stuff like that isn't going to get to them. If you have an older firearm, you might want to look into clean that a bit more often, but that's not the case with the Glock here. The next thing to think about when cleaning handguns is it's really not all that complicated. There's all kinds of products out there, between just, regular cleaning and lubricating oils, to foaming treatments, 1, 2, 3-step cleaning treatments, and all kinds of bells and whistles you can get, but you don't really need all that much, and it's not too complicated because, again, you don't have to clean these things too often. If you're just getting started and you don't really have anything, you can get something here. It's like a $20 kit that just comes with some, general bristles and brushes and cleaning implements for a variety of calibers here for rifles and shotguns, and some of these cleaning cloths, which are nice to have. Again, I got this to start out, and it's been pretty helpful. You can clean just about anything with it. But I've since kind of gotten one little upgrade for that, and that's like a BoreSnake type object here. This would you just drop this little brass weight down the barrel, and then you pull the BoreSnake through it. I think this is actually called a Borenado, but it's the same thing. And it's basically the bristles and a little cleaning cloth for the barrel all in one. So you can see early here on the cleaning tool, there's some bristles in 2 different spots. This serves the same function as the brushes, and then the rest of the BoreSnake here is just like a cleaning cloth to wipe it all out. I really love these things. They're easy to wash, and you only really need to do 3 or 4 pulls through your barrel and you're all clean. It really saves a lot of time, and you also don't have to spend all kinds of money using those little cotton wipes. Otherwise, the only other stuff that I really use is a good microfiber cloth or some sort of cotton rag that you can use to wipe stuff down. A little bit of lubricating gun oil here. I just use this stuff from Hops. Pretty good stuff. I like it. Works pretty well. I also like to have a little nylon brush like this to clean some gunk out if it happens to get really dirty in there. This bristle actually came with the Glock 34 here, so it's a pretty neat tool for the job. Anyways, to get started, I like to just take the slide off here on the Glocks. It's pretty easy. You just hit the little takedown lever, pull the trigger. That's why it's really important to make sure your weapons are cleared, and then your slide comes right off. You can take out the spring, pop the barrel out, and here we are. These are all the little components that you'll be looking at cleaning. You don't need to take it apart any more than that. Now, starting off with the recoil spring, you don't really need to oil up or clean it too bad. I just kind of like to wipe it down a little bit, get some of the dirt and carbon build off of it. It's pretty simple. As long as it's not like ridiculously dirtied up, you should be pretty good to go. Next up is the barrel here. Again, not ridiculously complicated. Just like to give it a good wipe down. First off on the outside to kind of clean everything off, and just make sure any surface residue is cleared. And then comes in with the BoreSnake. Now you can use some of the bristles like I showed you in this box. Those would work for the exact same purpose. This is a 2-in-1, so you don't have to clean the barrel out after. I usually just like to put a drop or two of the hops cleaning oil on the little bristled segments, just so it cleans a little bit as you're pulling it through. Again, you don't have to soak any of this really. It's pretty simple. And then you just drop this little brass weight down the barrel here. It goes through and you can pull it out the other side. Wrap it a couple times around your hand, and then you just pull it through. The bristles went through and that got a bunch of the dirt out, and then the cloth just cleans it. Just like that. I mean, I absolutely love these things. They're a super good cleaning tool. And all you need to do is just pull it through, you know. I usually do about 3 or 4 times just to make sure it's all nice and cleaned out. And that's really all there is to it. It's a big time saver. And definitely beats having a ton of those little cotton swabs in your way. So now that the BoreSnake served its purpose, this is officially all cleaned out. We'll move on to the next piece. The next piece I like to go to is the slide. Now for the exterior, especially around the muzzle, again, you just take a nice microfiber cloth and wipe it down just to get any carbon buildup you can see off of there, any other oils or nasty stuff. You can also just kind of wipe down the inside of the slide too, much the same fashion. Again, you're just kind of wiping off some of the heavier gunk. And again, this thing wasn't super dirty anyways. It's pretty much new and cleaned. If there's really anything dirty, you can take your little bristle brush here and get into some of the little crevices in the slide like this. Again, not a super big deal because, you know, it doesn't get too ridiculously dirty. But, you know, a nice nylon brush for this works perfect. And that's about it for cleaning the slide too. You don't have to take anything apart. You don't need to spray anything anywheres, and basically just wipe it down and get any of the surface residue off. And the last bit here is just the frame and sort of the trigger components. Again, if there's any carbon buildup on the outside, it'll be under here where the slide comes in at the barrel. So again, I just kind of like to wipe that down and get all that black junk off of there. If you have any dirt on the frame from shooting outdoors or something like that, you can wipe it off. I just like to wipe off these little metal components in here just a bit. And again, if you want to clean down in the trigger group, you really don't need to, but if there's like a piece of gunk down there or something that you see, you can just get in there with a little nylon brush, and it really helps getting under all the little ledges and nooks in here. And that'll about do it for the frame. So you can see cleaning overall is incredibly simple. There's no need to overdo it, and especially with modern firearms, you don't even really need to do it that often. Now, one thing you'll always want to do to make sure your weapons are functioning properly and they won't jam or lock up or anything on you is to make sure you keep them oiled. Again, I use this Hops lubricating gun oil. It's not too expensive, a couple bucks. You should be able to find this at any local range or gun store. Now, these lubrication steps will definitely be more specific to a Glock. And if your manufacturer is different, you'll want to see what they recommend. But I have this handy dandy Glock cleaning mat here, thanks Mac, that has a lubrication guide on the side. And all you can see here is there's 2 or 3 spots that need lubrication. It's usually just 1 or 2 drops per. And I usually like to start with the barrel. And as you can see on here, you just need 1 little drop on the side, and then it just recommends spreading a little bit of oil over the entire barrel. So I usually just put, a couple drops, and then just use my hand and my fingers to just spread the oil out pretty evenly. Again, you don't need to saturate any of this. You want just enough on there for it to be lubricated decently. Otherwise, you'll have some tendency for more gunk to build up. The recoil spring up next doesn't really need anything. As long as you just wipe it down, it should be good to go. No lubrication needed. Up next is the slide. You can see you just need a drop in these little channels here that are the slide guides for when the weapon is cycling. So I just kind of like to hold it at an angle. Just get a drop in right there. 1 or 2 drops should be plenty good. Drop another one on the other ledge. Maybe one back here. Just like that. Then I just like to hold the slide for a little bit vertically so the oil has time to travel down these grooves. Then when it's gone a little bit, you flip it upside down. Let it sit for a minute and it'll flow up and down these grooves. And then when we put the weapon back together and cycle the slide a couple times, it'll distribute that oil pretty well as well. Other than that, you don't need any more lubrication in the slide, and it's definitely important not to get too much in here, especially if you get oil near the weep hole or some other components in here. It can cause some issues, and just, oil tends to make things stick to it, and you can actually make your weapon dirtier by over lubricating. A drop is a lot. And last is the frame/trigger group. Again, don't need to do too much here, but right in this little gap right here, it recommends 1 drop of oil. You can see that on the mat. So I just turn it a bit on an angle, pop a little drop in there, and you're all good to go. All right, so now that the weapon's been cleaned and properly lubricated, we just put it back together. So first things first is the barrel. Just drop it in there and slide it back. Next is the spring. Pop it in here, make sure it goes on the proper ledge down here, and that's all reassembled. And then we're just gonna pop it back on the frame. And these 2 little metal pieces and these slide guides right here are what will benefit from lubricating the little channels. So we slide that back on and pull it through, and we're all good to go. Now, one thing to make sure while your weapon's clear here is to just do a quick functions check. So like I said, racking the slide a couple times will help distribute the oil along those little tracks. And then you always want to make sure that your trigger will function. Test the reset, and again, just to make sure, it's always good to do that a couple times, make sure everything's back together properly. But otherwise, it should be all good to go for your next range day. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, feel free to leave a like below. If you have any questions or you want to talk about some of the cleaning gear that you like to use, leave it below in the comments. And as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, where every day is range day. Thank you for watching.